Okay, hi. Welcome everyone. I apologize that we've had a few technical glitches this evening. I'm just making sure that things are now lined up properly so that we can go ahead and get started. So if you're watching this as... Okay, hi. Okay, there we go. If you're watching this as replay, then you can feel free to skip forward a minute to make sure that things are already working right. But it looks like we're all set. Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your patience with getting things in order tonight. So tonight we're going to continue with what we started the last time we were together. And what we're also doing is continuing to set the foundation for the work that I'm inviting you to join in on over the next 6 months. So just to recap a few things from last time and to look at what we're going to be handling on this webinar. If you have been inclined to join in and participate, there's a good chance that you already have had at least a glimpse of the truth of yourself. You've already had at least an inkling and some experience yourself with what's possible for you, right? You can just feel it in your bones. You've seen it before. You've had those moments of incredible bliss. You've had that glimpse of just your infinite loving nature. You have that sense deep down of what you really are. And yet there may be a difference between what you get those glimpses of sometimes and what it is that it feels like plays out and is really integrated in your everyday life. One of the ways that it showed up, a little example on the previous webinar, was the idea of, you know, if you were a child and you asked for a new tricycle for Christmas, the difference between actually getting that tricycle and peeking into the wrapping and seeing that it's there, knowing that you do have it, that it is available to you, and then just sort of keeping it wrapped up in the closet. And every once in a while, whenever you're really down, going in and looking and peeking and saying, oh, okay, at least I do have that tricycle, it is mine. The difference between that experience and the experience of receiving it and then just really being out there on the street pedaling it every day and really living in having it, rather than once in a while when you need a pick-me-up to go take a peek at the fact that it's really there. So if you've felt inclined to come in contact with me and to be present right now, chances are you've had some variation of that experience where you know what's possible for you. You're no beginner to looking inside of yourself and making your own spiritual exploration, but you may have had some frustration or some weariness really with the searching of it, right? The seeking of it, the striving of it, just to get those fleeting glimpses, just to get those momentary experiences of the real you. So what I'm here to invite you to begin to do, and what we're going to explore during the 6-month program that's going to happen, is tapping in for you in particular. It's going to be a small enough group that I'm going to be able to put that attention on each individual, the same as I do in a one-on-one program. but obviously it's much easier for you to participate in this group setting, of tapping into what it is for you in particular, what it is that is your process that's natural to you. Because you see, that's the thing. There's no one size fits all for this, even though it's so incredibly universal. So it's both universal and completely just fitted exactly to you. Now, the good news about it being so specific to you, what your particular journey is, what your unfoldment is, what your path is that the instructions for that and the guidance for that and the kind of rolling out the carpet for you to actually carry that through is already in you. It's already just coded right in and right there and available to you. Okay. So what we'll be doing as a group and of course in the individual session is working with that. So this program is going to be specifically designed to bring you step by step from that place of frustration, of those fleeting glimpses of what you really are, into you being so blindingly obvious to yourself in your own radiance, and that being integrated into how you're living in a day-to-day way. So I had a few questions come in after the last webinar from people who haven't necessarily worked with me one-on-one before, of what that really entails, since you do also get a one-on-one session in this program. And even the way I'll be conducting the group work is going to be patterned the same as how I do one-on-one work. So what that entails is the entire process is steered by your guidance. Okay, so I tap into that and we take you step by step through what is your process that's most natural to you. Okay, so you may have your own ideas of what it is that you think you need to do next, or what you think you've done wrong, or what you think you need to do. And yet those understandings through the mind might or might not be on target for what it is that's really available to you and what it is that is ready to unfold for you. So we'll be tapping into that, as well as getting you in touch with the process that's going to get you there. Okay, so that by the end of that 6 months, you will have gone from, you know, again, having those glimpses, having those glances, but not feeling it fully necessarily, right? To going from there to just living it, just knowing as deep in your bones as anything else that this is what you are, and it living with this lightness and innocence and joyfulness of being in on the joke that you had all of that all along. So if you're ready for that, then that's what we're going to be continuing in this webinar, what we started in the first one, and then again, setting it out there to be available to continue for the next 6 months. Okay. So for tonight, now that I've gotten some of those questions out of the way that have been out there, let's go ahead and look at one of the really the key things to, last time we met, we talked about and we dealt with how really the first step of living in that understanding, living in that manifestation of everything being aligned and being easy and being miraculous, is you having a real understanding of the truth of yourself. Okay, that's part of it. The other part, and that gives way to this openness, and that openness takes root when we're not coming from this place of separation anymore. So one of the things that we'll be working through is, again, integrating, because if you're here right now, I'm willing to bet that you've had at least moments where you have had that perspective, where you've seen from that place of no separation, and you know what that's like, and you've got a taste for it. But now it's time to bring that in completely for you. Okay. So first of all, let's check back in on one of the things that I've recommended the last time that we were together, for you to sit and without any agenda or any plans to change anything or any of the rest of that, how much you were willing to sit and be with you with just the innocent curiosity about what it is that you really are. So if you were here for that last time and you had a chance to do it, go ahead and tune back into that now, of what it felt like, what you discovered, how things have changed for you. Or if this is the first time you're joining in, go ahead and take a moment to do that right now. Just put the question out there. Just have it raised as a possibility. What if I'm not what my thoughts have told me I am? And if I might be something other than, something more than what my thoughts have told me that I am, what would that be? And again, you don't have to get an answer that's even in terms of words or language. It's about just really feeling into it, letting that be revealed to you from this place of truth already inside of you. So check and see what happens there when you ask yourself, if I'm something other than, something more than what my thoughts and ideas and beliefs and concepts and identifications have told me that I am, then what is it? What is it that I am? And just allow yourself to be open to receive that being revealed to you, whatever it may be. Just noticing what that feels like from the inside out, and noticing the opening that comes with that, noticing the expansion that comes with that. Because that's part of your very nature, is this infinite expansiveness. So that's one of the things that's off base about the struggle, the striving, the seeking, the chasing, is all of that implies that there is something to get to. All of that implies that there is some finish line. And that's not what infinite means, and you're infinite. So there's a constant, continuous expansion that your mind doesn't know how to understand. So what if right now you'd be willing to, for the first time, completely take the pressure off of yourself of there being anything that you think you're supposed to get to? Even if you have a conceptualization of whatever you think is the highest spiritual whatever, or enlightenment or whatever it is, what if, because your very nature is infinite and infinitely expansive, there can be no such thing as you reaching some endpoint, right? So see what that feels like as you take that expectation off of yourself, that expectation that's been pushing you toward getting to that perceived endpoint, and instead giving yourself permission to bloom and thrive in this infinite expansion that is your very nature. So that breaks down two things. It breaks down that striving, that push, push, push of I have to get to whatever, right? And then what it also does is for us to surrender to that constant infinite expansion, we can't do that while we're still trying to hold on to anything, while we're still trying to maintain any particular thing. So if you've had these glimpses, these glances of some amazing state of bliss, or this revelation of the truth of what you are and your infinitely loving nature, and then you're trying to maintain those, you're trying to replicate that, you're trying to get back to that, that whole pursuit belies your infinitely expansive nature. So that's what's meant about this process of surrender. And the beautiful thing is, when you're surrendering to what it is that you truly are, what you're surrendering to goes on forever and continues unfolding and is always bringing into being something more, something new. So what if you could give yourself permission to drop this expectation on yourself of what you need to get to? Because two things: because it's already been in you all along, and because it's going to continue expanding anyway. Okay, so let's dig into some of the things that can tend to get in the way of that. Okay, so we dealt with last time that the first step in this process of really expressing into form and living in that miraculous place of manifestation and grace is this openness, to at least be willing to be open to receiving everything that is you actually coming through you. Okay, so let's look for a moment at the ways that we have patterns that have been in place to the opposite. Okay, so when we're feeling that we're separate, when we are forgetful of the truth of what we are, then that can result in we feel smaller, we hold back, we can withdraw, we can feel powerless in different situations. We can generally, it's all a closed downness. So whatever it is that brings that energy forward to you of that closed downness. So anything that is related to fear, any place where there's not been a resolution of something, where you're holding on to anything from the past, all of those things bring this contraction into place. So let's tune into that so that we can open it up, so that those things are free to move and we're free to step back into our natural way of being, which is the very opposite, which is open, which is ready for anything, which is, completely simultaneously, completely at peace and able to move mountains in a heartbeat. It's just really receptive and really giving at the same time, because those two are one movement. The receiving and the giving are just one continuous movement. So if you think you have either side of that blocked in any way, the truth is the whole thing is blocked. So let's look at that from the point of view of just that closed in energy. So whatever it is, wherever you feel that at any time in the past you made any kind of a choice, any kind of a decision that said, nope, I've got to pull back. Get in touch with that, because it may even be that at some point, one of even your glimpses of something that's so beautiful and that you were searching for and striving for even gave you that you attach that to it, a moment of, oh, now I've got to pull back. Maybe that's too much. I don't know what that means. See, because when the mind comes in and says, well, I don't know what that means, or I don't know what I would do next, and we then shut down, then that gets locked in that says, okay, I need to pull back. So bring forward every place where you've made a decision, consciously or otherwise, to close down and pull back. Even in the face of, or even especially in the face of, the prospect of you being fully the indescribable, infinitely expanding love that you are. Just have a deep breath into that decision that you're willing to let all of that past energy, all of the patterns connected to it, everything attached to that, come forward now. Being willing to allow it to move. And embracing those warnings that seemingly come from the mind, that when it says, oh, I don't know what this is, I don't know what this means, we need to step back. Going ahead and embracing the mind, just like a little child, just like a 2-year-old that's never been on a roller coaster before. When the child says, oh, I don't know about that, I don't know what's going to happen, you don't just knock them on the ground and tell them to go away because they're stupid. You don't do that at all. You also don't stop and not go do it because the child says that either. No, what do? You take the child by the hand. You say, you know what? It's okay that you don't understand. It's okay that you don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be fun. And I'll go with you, hold your hand the whole way. That's what you would do. So from being in touch with the truth of you, that's the way to operate in relationship to your mind, is that when it throws up these warnings, when it throws up these past conditioning, these past patterns, it's not about trying to forcibly silence it. It's not about taking its advice and going and running for the hills. It's about operating from what you really are and embracing it accordingly. So bring that forward. Welcome the mind to put up those warnings that say, no, we've got to hold back. It's too much. I don't know what would happen next. And from the truth of the infinite love that you are you willing to offer up an infinite embrace to the mind, to let it know, thank you for giving me that warning from your perspective, but you're safe, you're loved, and you're completely embraced in this infinite love, and I'm with you there. You don't have anything to be afraid of. Just like taking that child by the hand as you move into doing something new that they haven't done before. Okay, good. Deep breath with that. And so the same thing applies with the judgments. One of the biggest things that also can tend to impede us from and have that chasm between getting these glimpses of what's really possible, getting these glimpses of what we really are and that incredible love that's available to us, the difference between seeing that and then really living that and having that integrated into every aspect of your experience, right? Seeing that play out in your relationship, seeing that play out in your health, seeing that express itself in your finances and your prosperity, right? Having your world and your sense of peacefulness, your sense of feeling free to live in this experience of your world, okay? All of that can be expressed either with all these ups and downs and the different things from the past that have been going on, or that can be an expression of the truth of what you really are, and an expression and a manifestation of that love. So we can seem hindered in that when there's still all of this residual, just a habitual returning to the ideas that we have about ourselves. So often when those are obvious, when you have thoughts about yourself that are judgmental and all those things, those you can get hold of. And of course, you know how to handle them and bring them into love, and we can work on that. But what I'd like you to also begin to look at is the way that that shows up in terms of all the other things that we deal with. How often what you're dealing with, if you trace it back, what's disturbing to you about it is that you think that it means something about you. That you think it means something about you. So even let's start from where this whole conversation began, right? About you looking into, you know, your interest in your level of peace, your level of what you might call spiritual understanding or whatever it is. Why is it that you're even looking for that? Why is it that you're even interested in having your life be an expression of ease and grace and abundance? Why? Whatever answer that comes to you, do you notice that at some level, there's something coming back in your mind that says that that means something about you, that that has something to do with the definition of who and what you are? Okay, so it's really important to uproot that, since the truth of who and what you are is absolutely changeless. It's absolutely untouchable. It's on a, well, that's the foundation of it, right? It's also infinitely expanding, but at its core, it can't be changed by anything. So bring forward right now something that you feel has been missing in your life, or something that is present in your life but is bothersome that you would prefer for it to be missing, whichever side of that it is. So bring that forward now, that that pain, really, of either not having what you think you'd like to have, or of being plagued by what you think you'd like to be free of. Okay, whatever you bring forward, now get in touch with, go deeper and get in touch with that root of what you think the state of either being in where you consider that a problem versus the state of what you consider it being resolved, what you think each of those means about you, right? So for example, if someone's having some problem, something they consider to be a problem in their lives, and they have the idea that, well, while this is still a problem means I'm a loser, and once it's fixed means I'm great. So whatever it is that came up for you, get in touch with where you've been using the presence or absence of that situation to define you. That you're letting that become part of your identification by what you think that means about you, to either have it solved or not have it solved. So invite that forward now, all of that judgment, all of those ideas, all of those concepts that say this means this and that means that, and that the whole idea that anything external has the power to change your identity in any way. All the way from the root, just bring that forward. And are you willing to surrender that? Are you willing to allow that to be completely embraced back into love, rather than being this separate, fragmented, frozen, densified concept that's jamming everything up for you? Are you willing to let it out into the open, all of the ideas that you have about what this situation means or doesn't mean about you, about your identity, about who you are? And would you be willing to accept and embrace and know and be shown right now the truth of that? Would you be willing to have it revealed to you from the inside what it is that's in you that's actually completely untouchable by this event or circumstances being or not being solved, not solved, a problem fixed, whatever? And you know what? Let's go ahead and run through, because this is being watched live, and it's also, some of you may be watching this as a replay. In some aspects, it's very different than when we're going to have the 6-month group. It's going to be set who is in the group. And so each time, so even if you're not on a live session, even if you're watching a replay, because it's known that you're in the group, whatever it is that's particular to you and whatever you need the most as dictated by your higher guidance is going to always be included, okay, in all the aspects of everything we're doing. These taster sessions are a little bit different because there are people listening to the replay, and there's a lot of people involved. So for the sake of that, let's just run through some different areas that you can use as examples to play along with, okay, to really start clearing this out for yourself. So let's look at health first, okay? So imagine right now, get in touch, take a deep breath, and just let yourself really get in touch with that truth of your being, that infinite, ever-expanding love that is what you are. Giving yourself permission to just experience it right now. There's nothing you have to do to understand it. There's nothing that you have to understand in order to be it. It just takes that decision with the word yes to that openness to be it right now. There you go, feeling it moving through you, moving through you, moving through you. Okay, so from that place, let's clear this out on the idea of any variety of health challenges, right? Notice how when you consider yourself being in a place of health challenge, of having something going on with your body that you think needs to be fixed, that you think needs to be different, notice the judgment that comes back on yourself about that. Notice that suddenly layered on top of this infinite love that you are, suddenly layered on top of that is the judgment that says, an identification that says, I'm blank, right? Disappointed in myself, a failure, not good enough, not able to do what I need to do to fix it, whatever. right? Answer that question for yourself of what you think that means about you. Okay, and now taking a deep breath and letting that identification, those concepts that have been superimposed on this love that you are, let them just melt into that. Let that love that you are, that you're already in touch with, just go ahead and wrap around that. Just go ahead and embrace that in. Rather than saying, oh, I'm not supposed to judge myself and I shouldn't have that idea that I'm a loser and da 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 da. There's nowhere you can put that stuff outside of you, right? There is no outside of you. You're infinite. Okay. But you can attempt to pretend like you're imposing a separation, but that's what then locks it in. So instead of locking it in by trying to separate from it, let that love that you are, embrace it, embrace it, embrace it, letting it all just dissolve. There you go. Now, also looking at the other side, looking at what you think it means about you if you've now fixed the health situation, right? Imagine the story that goes along with that as well. So if you had been in a health challenge, and then when you're imagining and pushing for and striving for and hoping for and flinging yourself toward the idea that you having it resolved is now going to give you this different identity, that you having it resolved is going to mean you get your gold star and your cookie and you're a-okay now. Notice that while that identity may seem like something positive, it's still artificially superimposed over this changeless, infinite love that you are, and that it's subject to its opposite at all times. So anything imposed through the mind from that place of duality, we tend to try to push toward all the things that are positive, forgetting that anytime it's through the mind, anytime it's in that realm of duality, at any moment it can flip to the opposite. Okay, so also bringing forward all those ideas that say that that would be your identity when the health is perfect. All of those things saying that perfect health would make you good enough, satisfied with yourself, at peace, happy, you name it. Bringing those forward. And in the same way, allowing this love that you are to embrace those, to let those just completely melt, completely dissolve into what you already are. And letting both sides of that come out into this space of love simultaneously, right? The side that says, if I'm still in this poor health, I'm blah, 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 what that means about me, bad news, right? Plus the side that says, well, if I'm in good health, all the things I think that means about me that are blah, 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 good stuff. Letting all of both of those sides of it, all of those stories, all of those judgments, all of those concepts of an external identification just coming out into the center of this love simultaneously now. Being embraced. There you go. And if you're willing to let all of that just melt so that the truth, that infinite expanding love that you are is able to just constantly come to the forefront instead of having these different sets of identifications from the place of duality being superimposed over that, just breathe that in and give yourself permission now. There you go. And you can test it back and forth like this. So that love, that infinite, expanding, untouchable love and peace and you name it, that you really are, can you give yourself permission that you are that while your health situation looks like what you'd like it to be? And can you give yourself permission to recognize that you are that, even in the moments when what you think is your health situation appears to be what you think you wouldn't like it to be? And back and forth, right? Feel into it, feel into it, feel into it. What it's like to give yourself permission to be that you really are, without adding this external meaning onto it, without adding meaning based on my health is this, my health is that. That means I'm this, that means I'm that. There you go. Okay, so another deep breath, thanking yourself and giving yourself permission to let this be what you live from now. Okay, and we can run through another one. Let's look at our interactions with other people. So here's a big one where we tend to default into giving that meaning about ourselves. So someone behaves in a certain way. What is it that usually really ticks us off about that? What it really is, when we get down to it, is we tend to think that that then means something about us. Okay, so get in touch with that. Think of a situation for yourself where you've either had a difficulty in having a harmonious relationship with someone, or maybe it's a situation where you just out and out felt attacked, rejected, abandoned. Those are big ones: rejected, abandoned, judged, any of those things where you've felt that, and then you've let that assign a meaning about you. Okay, so for example, if someone felt abandoned or rejected, that by itself is one thing, but it then becomes different when we then apply back this meaning that says, which means I'm no good, which means I'm not good enough, which means, right? Any of those things, and it can be very subtle. So any place where, consciously or not, an interaction with some other person or some other person's behavior being not what you would like it to be, where you've used that to assign what you consider a negative identity, a negative judgment, a negative meaning back on who and what you are. Okay, so again, beginning from that place of love that you've be allowed to come through you, starting from that truth of your very being, now invite that forward, invite that out into this space, everywhere that you made the decisions about your identity, anywhere that you impose these concepts about yourself that said that you're not fill in the blank as a result, or all the places where you decided that you are fill in the blank, right? Because it can show up that way. Like if you decided that you are, if the meaning you assign about how someone treated you is that you are worthless, right? Or that you are a jerk or a loser or an idiot, just let those come forward, because it's time to bring them out into the open. Okay, because the mind's, bless it, because it just has such a hard job. It doesn't even know what to do. It's got more than it knows how to handle. Okay, so it's done everything that it can to try to protect itself and to try to protect you in a way that it doesn't even know how. Okay, so its default is to keep those things out of sight as much as possible. But now that you're knowing that where you're bringing them out to is that you're bringing them out into the open, into love, it's perfectly safe to bring them out into the open. So all those things that with all your might you had told yourself, don't ever go back to that, don't ever think of it, let's pretend we never heard it, let's pretend we never saw it, it never happened. Now it's time to bring them out. Okay, so all those decisions that you made about I'm not this, so I'm no good, I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not whatever, fill in the blank enough, right? Tall enough, short enough, smart enough, pretty enough, fast enough, slow enough, whatever. All of those, along with all the ones that are. So anywhere that you decided, I'm worthless, I'm a loser, I'm garbage, what else, how else does it come through? You know, not worth taking up space, not wanted, all of those things, just bring them forward, whatever. And it may not even come up with any language attached to it for you. It may just be the raw energy of it. And you'll be able to know, you'll be able to feel that it's this superimposed identification. It's something in addition to that absolutely infinite, pure, ever-expanding love. You know what that feels like, okay? So invite all those judgments, all those ideas, all those concepts, all those extra identifications out into this space now. There you go, inviting them forward. They're not punished anymore. They're not sent in the corner anymore. They're not told to go in the closet and never come out and to hide forever because they're bad. They're now welcomed out into this love. Into this unconditional embrace where now they're able to just melt. They're able to just dissolve. Okay, and a big breath with that. And let's look at the flip side as well. So let's now look at all the places where in interactions with other people, you've let it mean something about yourself, but on what you would have called the positive side. Right? So all the places in the past where you did get the applause, or you were told that you're the greatest and you're the best and you win and whatever else. But notice the underlying discomfort that's often there because of what we dealt with before, where when we're dealing with anything through that lens of duality, the potential for its opposite is always still in place. Okay, so even when there's this external definition that seems like something good, that seems like something positive, it still can't possibly even come close to being as amazing as what the truth of you is. That absolute, infinite, untouchable, ever-expanding love. Okay, so bring those forward now. All the places where you imposed an external identification on yourself, where, again, as a result of whatever interactions with other people, that you assign that meaning back of what that means about you. So someone treated you nice and you assign the meaning, well, that means I'm okay. That means I'm good enough. That means I'm lovable. Okay, so invite those forward as well. All of those extra identifications that even as they're seemingly positive, they're still you assigning meaning about you. Rather than just being the truth of what you already are, that's untouchable by any of that. Okay, being willing to let all of those times that you felt praised, and that you assign some positive meaning to yourself as a result of it, allowing all of those to be embraced into this love, into this purity of this real, true, unconditional, infinite love. Being willing to accept that as your very nature, rather than relying on these external hits and defining yourself according to those. And now letting both sides of it, everywhere that there was this assigning of meaning about yourself, everywhere there was a signing of an identity of yourself, whether it was from the side that you called negative or the side you called positive, letting from the root that whole tendency toward assigning identification, assigning meaning to yourself based on something to do with other people, right? That whole root, including both sides of it, inviting that out into the open, letting that be completely embraced into this love that you are. Deep breath and giving yourself permission to feel what it feels like to just be that pure, untouchable love that you are in any and every situation, not defined, not changed by assigning any meaning based on anything to do with any other people. So feel into that right now. Imagine what it feels like to be that infinitely expanding, absolute love that you are, even while other people are reacting what seems negatively to you, or doing, or just acting negative in general, even if it's got nothing to do with you, but then you turn around and assign that to yourself. Either way, and what it feels like to be that even while other people are seeming to react positive to you. Giving yourself permission to know yourself as you, as the truth of you, regardless of any circumstance to do with other people. And simultaneously feeling into what that does when it spreads out. So as you're allowing yourself to know you as the truth of that love that you are, notice what happens when you open your eyes and look out at those other people. Begin to notice what it is that you're able to see them as well. Are you willing to give yourself permission that while you're knowing yourself from the inside out as that infinitely expanding love that you are you willing to recognize that through those eyes, you see others as the truth of themselves as well? And notice what happens that when you see others as the truth of what they are, suddenly whatever behavior is going on doesn't cause you to change your identification of yourself or your identification of them, either way. Okay? So, and you can continue with that. Let's run through one more possible scenario just to cover some of the different bases. So let's look at the area of finances, prosperity, all of those kind of things. So bring forward, notice where you have, again, assigned a meaning back on yourself based on the state of your finances. So based on, okay, well, if I have XYZ debt, that means I'm blank, right? Now I'm a loser, or that means I'm a failure, or whatever it is, whatever judgment you put on yourself, whatever meaning you've assigned about that. And notice that you've been willing to then pursue a solution based on what you think, how you think that that's going to change the meaning about you, your identity, because that's really what you think that you're looking to change in any of these situations. Is if you're letting yourself assign meaning to what, who and what you are about it, then you think that you're looking to change the situation, when in reality, what you're desperate to change is getting your definition of you back to the truth. Okay, so we're just going to go straight for the root. We're going to bring your definition of you back to the truth. And the great news is, and this just becomes gravy, is once your definition of you is back in alignment with the truth of you, then the way that you manifest, the way that you express and create in this reality is in alignment with that too. Okay. But when you go about it backwards of, well, I'm going to fix my health and fix my relationships and fix my finances so that and go get enlightened so that I'm going to feel okay about me, so that I'm going to be able to recognize me as the infinite, expanding, loving being that I am, none of those things are ever going to really pan out. Okay. So let's apply that in this situation. So all those places where you would be assigning meaning in a negative way based on what you think your financial situation is, right? So whether it's a low bank account, whether it's debt, whether it's even if it's a high bank account, but this pursuit of thinking that you haven't measured up to what someone else has done, or what someone else in your family has done, or what you think other people in your peer group expect of you, you name it. Bring that forward. All those places of assigning a negative meaning of yourself based on your financial situation. And from that place of that love that you are, inviting all of those judgments, all of those assignments of meaning, all of that concepts out into the open to just be completely embraced and to melt and dissolve into that love. There you go. Deep breath again. And giving yourself full permission to recognize and embrace you as that infinite love that you are, even in the moments of whatever situation it is for you that you consider to be negative. Okay, and looking at the other side, because the reason then that you've pursued what you think is going to be a solution to that is because you're desperate for, again, that assignment of meaning that you think is going to come when you think that you've resolved it. So when you have the idea that, okay, getting out of debt or getting $1 million or keeping up with what it is that I think my peer group expects of me, or you name it, when that idea is in place that says, or maybe you've had those things in the past and you got that external thing that says, okay, now I'm great, now I'm worthy, now I'm good enough, any of those things, bring that forward, bring that out into the open. All those ideas that say that it's going to be up to your financial situation for you to then assign this meaning on yourself that's positive. Bringing those things out into the open to give them the space to let them move freely now, to let them be completely embraced by this infinite field of love, allowing them to melt and dissolve into this love. And now again, feeling into it back and forth. What does it feel like to be you, to be that love that you are, to go ahead and be it now, rather than it waiting on assigning meaning in a negative way based on what you think is a negative financial situation, or waiting on, I'm going to fix that so that then I get the reward of assigning this positive meaning to myself either. Okay, letting both sides of that come out into the open now. And are you willing now to give yourself permission to receive and accept and embrace being that love that you are right here and now, and then letting everything else reflect that, rather than trying to change your situation in order to get to be something that's a facsimile of that truth of what you are, that's something beyond positive. Okay, so I invite you to continue to play around with that. Again, as we move into, which we're going to begin very soon, we'll begin on the 7th of April. Will be the first session that we have for this 6-month long program. And again, everything in that program is going to be specifically designed to guide you personally through what your particular process is. So it's being kept to a very intimate group because of that. And there's only a few spaces left, okay? But I'm not inclined to encourage you to make your decisions based on a place of fear or lack. So if you know that it's right for you to be there, go ahead and decide, go ahead and click over and join in. But what I will tell you is, in case your mind is having any uncertainty about it, if you do get that completed by the end of the 2nd of April, then there are going to be some bonus audios that I'm going to send to you. Okay, so, and they will be several different guided meditations that include the bowls that guide you through just returning to your natural state of love. So long as you go ahead and get started, go ahead and complete your enrollment by then, you'll get those extra bonuses. Okay, unless, all the spaces are filled by then we're full. But what's going to happen as that 6 months continues is, again, just walking you through, giving you the space to really let that process unfold of taking you from that up and down, that hit or miss place of, I get glimpses of it, I know it's there, I know it's possible, I know it's in me, right? From that place all the way to through all the stages of integration of that, to where it's so solid in you and it's so certain to you what you truly are, that you then have the tools yourself and you understand for yourself how to tap into your own internal process, and you understand how to tap into that natural guidance and everything that's already encoded in you of how to bring yourself completely back into not only that understanding, right? This is not about you just awakening. This is about you integrating that. You going from just, wow, this is really me. It was here all along, but also bringing in the different stages of what it is to live that, to express that all the time, for that to be not something that's new to you, not something that's here and there and maybe not to you. So that's the question I would put to you, is if it's important to you to move into that continuously in your life. Has it been enough of a wake up to you when you've tasted it in the past? Has it been appealing enough to you when you've gotten your glimpses of that incredible bliss? Has it called to you loud enough from deep inside of you when you've known that more is possible, that there is a different way for you to live and not just get pieces of? Has that been important enough that you're willing to now take the steps to go ahead and joyfully embark on that journey of bringing that in completely, of integrating that into your life, of living from that all the time? Okay, so if that's interesting to you, you have two different ways to do that. There's two different ways that I'm happy to support you in taking the steps to do that and making it possible for you, and having you step out at the end of it, having you stand on the other side with an amazing smile on your face saying, okay, you know what? It's so obvious to me now what I've been all along. And I'm so blown away. That's what happens. Like for me, a good day is when someone's been working with me and then they come out the other side and they go, you know what? I'm so happy to be me, because what I am is incredible, and what I am can handle anything, and what I am guides me naturally to the next step. Right? Are you ready for that? Would you like to come from that place that I've watched people over and over and over and over get to, where they're not on the hunt anymore. They're not on the search anymore. Okay, it's in there and they're now living happily with it. So you have two options for that. You can click and join in on this 6-month virtual program that we're having. Okay, so to run down what the contents are of that, of how we're accomplishing that, is we'll be meeting twice a month as a group. You'll have one private session that you can use whenever you'd like. You're going to have constant energetic support from me in the same way that I used to support my private one-on-one clients. You'll have access to check in with me by email and have really the fullness of that support as you're going through your particular process. Okay. Each month I'll be sending a new custom recording to you of the bowls that's tailored to the energy for that month for you. That'll be sent to you, as well as a monthly new process, either by audio or video, that again is tailored to what's going on in that moment and sent out to you. Okay. You'll have access to, if you're new to me, there are some amazing digital courses that people have, written into me after getting through only the first session of telling me, you know what, I've spent 8 years on a serious spiritual search and meditating and doing everything I could up, down, and sideways. And now after the first session, I have an experience of what love really is. Okay. So you'll actually get the first course is called The Birth of You. The next is called The Birth of Dreams, which is a more bringing what you are into manifestation. So Birth of You followed by Birth of Dreams. You'll get both of those, instant access to those. Okay, that you can use as long as you'd like. You'll also get instant access to the most recent series that I did, which is a series of activations called Being Love, which is exactly what it says it is. It's to help give you the space to be that love, rather than either trying to get it from outside, or rather from thinking that you have to constantly be dousing yourself with it. in some kind of an artificial way either. Okay, so you'll get all that library of tools as well. Okay, so, and you can click and see all the details of that. So that's one option, is to join in for that 6-month program. The other option is coming on retreat in Bimini, which, if you're really ready to step into what we've been talking about, stepping out of that place of striving and seeing what it is, instead of being on the spiritual search and the spiritual path, having instead an exploration of the infinite, right? Really playfully letting all that you are unfold in this incredible expansive way, then that's also an incredible way to do it, because we spend a solid week where everything is on your side. Everything is conspiring for you, because we spend time doing all of our usual work together. I bring the bowls, we bring that in. Everyone gets special sound baths. We do yoga. We feast on incredibly high vibration food that's, a lot of it's raw. It's all prepared with love. It's just incredible. Even if you're not accustomed to eating that way, everyone who's come before that wasn't still loved it. They still were having seconds and thirds, but never feeling weighed down. So that is there. The water, if you've ever been in the Caribbean or anywhere else in the Bahamas, you're still not prepared for the water in Bimini. It's so crystalline in nature that it's almost indescribable. So we'll be getting in the ocean to let that support us. And then to top it all off, we're going to go and swim with the wild dolphins that are in Bimini, which, if you've ever done that, then you know what a completely amazing experience that is. I mean, the stories of what people experience when coming in contact with wild dolphins run the spectrum from amazing to amazing, because it's everything from, people who had tumors that go and they get in the water with the dolphins come around and are sonaring, and they go back home and the tumor is shrunk, or children that had never spoken before because of autism get in and swim with the dolphins and then say their first words for the first time. At the very least, everyone that I've ever seen come in contact with dolphins gets a transmission of that frequency of living from oneness, of living from joy, of living in the now, living with that spontaneity and that happiness and that love that most people on the planet right now could definitely, they'd be happy to increase that. Wouldn't you agree? So those are the options that are available right now. Or of course, you can contact me if you'd like to have interest in just working one-on-one in a completely private program. That's an option if I have the space for it. So any questions you have whatsoever, please feel free to contact me. There's contact links on my website, or you can also email me directly at my personal email, and I'd be happy to set up a conversation with you, or whatever it is next to serve you best. So my direct personal email is my first and last name @me.com. So that's REBECCAQUAVE @me.com. And you can contact me there, or again, use any of the links on the website and you can get in touch with me and we can go from there. So to everyone, I invite you to, let's have another big deep breath. Just setting your intent that all the work that you've done over the past hour has the chance to integrate, and that you're giving it permission to continue to expand on its own. And that you're giving yourself permission to continue living more and more and more and more in and from that infinite love that you are, that you're giving yourself permission to let that natural expansiveness take over, so that you get to bloom and thrive and live from that and express that and create that. So again, feel free to contact me. I would love to know how I can best serve you. As we all, again, you've heard me mention it before, but as far as I can tell, we're all just joining together now to move back into what is our true nature. And it's just beautiful. So I love you so, so much. The email again is rebeccaquave@me.com. Will get directly to me, or you can use any of the contact links. So I love you so much. Continue being that love that you are and letting that light up this entire planet and beyond. And thank you so, 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 so much for being here and being who you are. I love you, and I'll see you soon.